Congress passed legislation today to remove marijuana from the Controlled Substances Act list, essentially legalizing the drug nationwide. What implications will this have? And in a busy week in Washington, President Biden also announced his budget proposal for 2023, which continues his reckless spending, including troublesome spending on abortion. Here to unpack all these issues and more is Connor Semelsberger, Director of Federal Affairs for Life and Human Dignity, FRC. Connor, welcome back to the program.
Great to be on, Joseph.
Well, Connor, they refer to this as the MORE Act, and I'm not sure if that's because they want more marijuana or not, but it essentially legalizes marijuana at the federal level. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that's actually exactly the reason they have that name. They want more marijuana, and they want us to tax it and subsidize it as well. The bill that passed through the House of Representatives today is appalling. It's not just a descheduling of marijuana, as you mentioned, which would sort of just give cover to the states that already legalize marijuana, both for medical and recreational purposes. But yeah, expunge any record ever regarding the drug cannabis, promote it, subsidize it, give big tax breaks to marijuana industry and businesses that are already flooding Capitol Hill, trying to lobby members to allow legalized pot to continue to grow in our country.
Now, proponents, of course, have a different understanding of why this bill makes sense. Let's go ahead and play clip 7, then I'm going to give you a chance to respond.
Americans across the political spectrum, particularly younger Americans, recognize that now is the time for cannabis reform. Be good for the economy, good for economic activity, good for public safety, good for social, racial, and economic justice.
Connor Semelsberger, is it good for public safety? Is it good for the economy? Is it just like make everything wonderful?
That's just an example that where Congress looks more and more like Disney every day. That's almost a cartoon image there, in the sense that, you know, as a younger American myself, this is a drug that impacts us the most. And I have to hit this point. Back in 2019, President Trump's Surgeon General, General Jerome Adams, actually put out the Surgeon General's warning for cannabis. And it was very clear what the research had showed, that nobody, this was the Surgeon General's warning, no one under the age of 21 and no pregnant woman should ingest, use marijuana in any way, shape, or form, even for medical reasons, because of the clear impact it has on brain development. So when you talk about the economy, you talk about being safe, and for young people, a drug that affects them and their brain development the most, it's, boy, way off base from what where all the data has shown this drug can lead.
Connor, if that's the case, why have we seen a number of states decriminalize marijuana in recent years?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but one of the major reasons is there's a ton of money and political backing to do this. The marijuana industry is in some ways just the old odes of the tobacco industry. It really is. A lot of the same players, partners, and funds. And they had just seen a exact opening across the states, starting in cities, moving the medical push and now the recreational push sweeping across the country. And the federal government has little to say or little to stop these states from doing it, even though if you look at our federal laws, it is illegal federally to use this drug for these reasons. So it's really a big political push. And the way they do it is make an economic argument, just as they did there. We can tax this thing, regulate it, but when you look at the states that have legalized, like a California, like a Colorado, there's many issues that come around, and they don't get the tax breaks that they really perceive from legalizing marijuana.
As the saying goes, Connor, I tried to follow the science, but it led me directly to the money. And this could be another situation where that is happening. I want to switch gears on you a little bit, another subject, because the Biden budget proposal has massive spending, but it also has some concerns for those of us who care about life, doesn't it? Tell us about that.
It does. And so, yeah, just to give the background, the Congress just had passed last year's funding bills, which was 6 months late. And so as March comes around, they're already setting up the president's budget for this next funding cycle, 2023. And yeah, the dollar amounts are extraordinary, out of this world in a time of inflation. But don't worry, what the president's trying to sell to the American people is, despite all the economic hardships you're facing, we want to take your federal tax dollars and pay for abortions around the country. That's what they're signaling. they want to pay for abortions overseas as well and subsidize abortion industry over there. And that's what they're signaling in the latest budget and what they are going to fight again. Thankfully, they failed last cycle, but they're going to fight once again leading into this election to take our our federal tax dollars and pay for abortions.
And tell us more about that. This Hyde Amendment issue has been a significant one. It has so far survived the Biden administration. What would the impact be here?
Yep, so it's been in place since 1973, and thanks to great work of places like FRC and other pro-life organizations around the city here, we maintain this amendment that keeps our tax dollars from funding abortion. Has to be renewed every year to the federal spending. So it's an annual fight. So we won the victory a couple months ago whenever that last year's bills passed finally, and here we are at the fight once again. So we are always diligent, keeping to make sure not a single word or a single letter of these long-time amendments will be taken away from our federal legislation.
And Connor, the work that you do, if people only knew, even when you're in a defensive posture, how much is able to get done in Congress when you have the relationships, when you have the diligence, when you work hard enough. We are so grateful to you and everybody on the FRC team for your diligence on Capitol Hill. And we are especially grateful for your time telling us about it today. Thanks so much.
Yep, thanks. It's quite a blessing to do this work.